Hello, hi. I am Spantopia Rosé, but you can call me Span. It's weird doing that intro without actually having my face in shot. So I've decided that each month, I'm gonna have a theme. An artistic theme. Each month is going to have a theme this year, and to help me choose those themes is going to be my patrons. So up on my Patreon I'm going to put up a little poll between two things, and then you guys, you patrons, get to choose what the theme for the month will be. So January's theme I decided independently because I was already kind of into them, is bees. So this is January bees for January. But the idea of the theme is that I'm going to just have a concept or a theme, a thing like a bee, or I think the poll this month for February was between mushrooms and whales, and whichever one of those chooses, I will draw next to the bee here. Whichever one of those is chosen, whichever one of those is chosen, I will put right here on this interesting notebook that I'm making, art diary that I'm making, of all the different themes, and February's theme will go next to it. So this is January, and January is bees for January. So I'm going to be doing watercolour pencil on an image of a bee for this particular video. You might remember this. From a previous video. So much fun. So today we're going to be using that as the actual water, but I won't open it yet because I'll be doing the pencils first. So I've got some, excuse the wind in the background if you can hear it, I've got some brand new packet of watercolour pencils here that I got at a back to school sale at Aldi. So that's exciting. They are Creative Place Artist Collection watercolour pencils, artist quality watercolours. It only seems to have one yellow, so this could be a very creative bee indeed. So I also have a selection of paintbrushes here. These are just the ones I already had in my room. I didn't go out and find specific paintbrushes for the purposes of this video. But yeah, these are the ones that I'll be using after I've done the watercolour pencil, after the pencil, and they are living in this elephant container that I have. Ooh, something fell out. It was an earring. Not even my earring. Okay. We'll put that back in. I like this one because the bristles are nice and long bristles. Okay, anyway. Let us begin. So this very nice art diary is brown. Its paper is brown, and it is actually technically it's an album for scrapbooking, but I'm using it as a sketchbook. So here's the bee we drew. You can find these images up on Instagram that Span made. But these are the two bees that I drew. I'm going to be doing watercolour pencil on the first one, and then on the second one I'll just do watercolour paints, and then we'll do a quick compare and contrast and see which one we like better, which will be up on Facebook and Instagram. There are other pictures. But yes, this is a nice paper. So I've also never tried doing watercolors on this paper, so we'll see how that goes. Hopefully it'll hold. Okay. See if we can even open the tin. Okay. Ooh, lovely, lovely. We have lemon, a nice lemon yellow. We have orange, oops, orange. We have pink, oops, pink. We have red. We have purple, my personal favorite, purple. And we have sky blue. And we also have a cobalt blue. And we have a apple green, green apple green. We've got apple green. We've got green. We have garnet red, very nice garnet red. And we have my favorite beverage, a coffee. I mean, that's debatable about whether it's my favorite beverage, but we have coffee, and we have, of course, black. Black. Yeah. So, the first thing that I think I'm going to do is pull up a reference of a bee, just so I can look at something. Bees. So typing bees into Google Images, and then I'll just look at all of the pictures to know where the yellow. I guess basically it's just yellow in the stripes, but there's a little bit of yellow in the fur. A little bit of yellow will go in the fur as well. Alright, so let's take our yellow and start going. So the very tip of the bee is actually in black. So I'm going to use a little bit of black. Now I don't want to colour the whole thing that I do black because the water will spread the colour around. So you just want to loosely sketch in where the, oh dear, black, yellow, black, yellow, black. Yeah, that works. Okay. So all of that to about here is black. About here is black. And then this bit in here will actually be yellow. So bees' knees. What colour's the bee's knees? They're sort of a browny black. They're a browny black. So before we do that, let's just dive into the yellow. I'm going to put a lot of yellow in because it's not a very dark colour, and sometimes the bright pigments don't show up very well, especially against a brown or coloured or a darker background. The yellows won't show up as well. We can't put too much water on this either because the card it's just a paper card. Like it's not a super thick sort of thing. So I'm just doing the very outline of the bee's wings. And I'm going to come down into the bee's knees, and you can only really see 3 of his legs in this sketch. In this particular sketch, you can only see 3 of the bee's legs. But bees do have 6. I believe bees have 6 legs. So we'll just go around the outside in the dark black colour and the outline, and just kind of roughly, because it is a sketchbook. This isn't a finished artwork, even though it will be. It is supposed to be loose and fun, and for me, a fun artwork is actually a quick artwork. So while I'm here, I'm just gonna do his little feelers. They're kind of cool. This one looks a bit like a tie. Cool. So now I've got. Actually, I'll also do the eyeball while I'm here. Now there's a lot of graphite on this eyeball, which is not ideal, but who knows? Maybe it'll be alright. Okay, so now we want to add some little hairs in all over the place. We might want to come back and do those later as well. Just a very thin line or two in the wing. Okay, so if they kind of have hairs that start off dark and then turn yellow. So I'm just going to put some darker black hairs in there. Now where I'm putting these lines will dramatically change the feel of this artwork, so I've got to be careful that I don't put them in too random of a places. going to do a little bit of shading on those bees' knees. Just a little bit, just a little bit. In this colour, and then I'm going to pick up that coffee. I'm going to pick up that coffee flavour and just have a quick little. Oh, it's quite brown, quite light. But I guess this bee just has particularly light tanned legs. At the moment, let's pick up that red kind of. It looks a bit darker. We'll bring in some of that shadow. And I'll just add the colours in a shadow because light will bounce off things in different wavelengths, and in art you can really get away with. I learned recently that especially in art such as impressionism, it doesn't really matter what colours you're using if you're going for the impression of a thing, because the mind will make it up. And also, as long as your values are right, so if this was a really bright light red, it wouldn't work, but because I'm trying to get into the dark, so if I was to use this red in the middle to make a darker tone, it would look wrong. It wouldn't build up a shadow because it's a bright colour. But as long as you've got the tones right, the colours don't matter as much. So for example, I think I'm going to put some purples and blacks, purples and blues into the wing. No, purples and blues into the shadows. Reds, purples and blues into the shadows, and then the yellow coming off the very tippity edges of the hair. And bees generally don't have purple and blue, but I'm hoping it will make the picture dynamic and not make you go, what on earth is this? And then by the same level, I will take the lighter blue, the sky blue, into the wing. So if I take the light sky blue and just, because the wing is supposed to be clear, or if anything like a light white sheen, but we don't have a white watercolour. We only have yellow, but we can't put too much yellow in the wing because we're going to have it all the way out here. I'm going to put a couple of little hairs coming off the butt there too. Okay, so that's looking all right. I want to add that dark blue in as well, that cobalt blue in with my purples, just to really drive the fact that he's shaded. Oh, I'm pressing too hard for the paper. I have to be a bit gentler. Now, what colour haven't we used? Oh, it's going to have to be green or pink. Maybe pink. I'm going to go pink for the... maybe orange. Maybe pink, orange and red. We will do pink, orange and red for the flowers. I'm going to put some green in with the shadows because we do have a darker and a lighter green as well. So you do kind of want to push those darker values despite whatever colours they are. I'm going to get a little bit of orange and put the orange up here in the wing, which shouldn't be too distressing because, like I said, the value of the orange is quite a light to bright value. Alright, so that's looking kind of cool. I hope I don't ruin it when I put the water in. I'm just going to put a bit of shading pink for the flowers. I'm not going to bother with an outline because I'm not worried about what the bee is standing on. I'm worried about the bee himself. So I'm just going to do a quick shade of the flowers. Probably should pay more attention to this if I want to make it look more of a finished thing, but to be honest, that's not what we're going for, and I'm not interested in the flowers. I'm interested in the, let's give them a bit of tone in the middle there, make them look like flowers that the bee would be attracted to. But I'm not interested in the flowers. I'm interested in the perfection of the bee. And because I didn't put any orange in there, I'm just going to add a little bit more orange into the wing. I'm just going to be a bit weird and put some orange in the reflection of the eye and bring out that bright. And maybe I'll put a little blue in there as well. Just a little touch of sky blue. Okay, so now here's the test. Here's the real test. Okay, it's very well. Oh, fuck. Wow, we've ruined it. I don't even have any paper. Here, tissues. Well, this is not the effect I was going for. Note to self, open the lid of the jar away from the artwork. Alright. Well, we will remedy this as best we can. Just pick any brush. I'll pick this one that I said was my favourite earlier and test that theory. Alright. Oh goodness, alright. So we're just gonna move the pigment. Too much water. So we're just gonna almost dry brush it out. Just pick up the tiniest bit of water and then just shade in that darker colour. Really moving that pigment about. But the pencil is put down where you pick up the pigment from. So the pigment is obviously the colour moving around. Yeah, so it basically just takes that, it takes the drawing that we did and gives it a bit of a painterly feel, which is nice. So I'm just going to do tiny brushes of colour around the outline of the bee, but really working in those dark shady areas while I've got the black pigment on my brush. But we do want to go almost non-existent water on here. Right, and I'll just move that up and down the page. Alright, so while we've still got that darker I've washed it off now, but I'm just going to stay in the shadows for a bit. I'm just going to stay in the shadows and try and get these colours. Try and get these colours to not be completely overpowered by the darkness, which is hard because the black will overpower the other. I like that it's the other colours. I like that it's a scratchy brush and doesn't have a very yeah, pick up that green and purple, nice. A very smooth brush because the bristles add little hairs that look like add texture that look like little hairs. So for the wing, I don't want that, but for this hair, I'm quite happy with that. So I'm just gonna dab that dry and go back in. Oops, too much. Okay. I'm not sure I'm gonna do that. So this outside edge of the yellow and black is proving to be difficult because, as I said, the black is overpowering. But if you start in the yellow and move it around first and then wipe before you get to the black, we can keep the black mostly within its own. And you don't want to have too much of a line here between the values of the contrast, which is Again, difficult, so we'll just do those little black lines now. Then come in with a clean, dry brush, almost dry brush. Pick up some of those yellows and greens and just go over the edge there. Just get those without the black. It's almost working. We'll come back in with some more yellow once the paper's dried a little. Alright, I feel like it's working better down here where the colours are. Alright, now I'm just gonna swap brushes for a second. I'm gonna get something a little more, maybe this one, a little softer, a little more soft. Yeah, so I'm just gonna wet that. Just going to shape it with my fingers. And it's almost dry. I'm just going to do the eyeball now. I'm doing the black bit of the eyeball, but I want it to be real smooth. Oh, it's going to need more water. Alright. Just real smooth in that darkness. And now while I've got this smooth texture happening, you just want to definitely leave a little gap for that light in his eye. While I've got this smooth texture, I'm going to go over the little black lines that I did in the wing. Oh, I put way too much water on again. Yeah, so in the wing. These are quite vibrant colours though, which is nice. So even if they do get dulled down a little bit by the darkness, it doesn't matter too much because they're still vibrant colours, which is nice because sometimes in watercolours things do tend to get a little bit washed out, obviously because of the water. So I'm just going to try this brush as well for the colours here in the wing, because the wing does need to be smooth. So it's just like smoothing it all out together. It is going a little bit green where the yellows and oranges are meeting the blues, but I'm okay with that because colours mean nothing. It is the tone. It is the tone that tells the story. Yeah, so the concept of the theme that I'm doing over the over this year, of having the art theme, that concept, is just that I will, for that month, study that one animal. So this month I've been working on bees, kind of just happenstancely. I was like, I'm going to do some bees, and then I was like, I'm going to have themes. Oh, let's have this year's theme. This month's theme, let's just have it be bees. Because I had already started, and it was already halfway through January, so that works. Yeah, so we have this little shading in these little knees. It's getting to me. So I just want to do the fleshy part and then go in with the rough brush afterwards is what I was thinking, but the shading does appear to be rather dull. So we're just going to keep going in on those bee's knees legs now. We're just keeping with that smooth brush. I think I was talking about the theme being just something that I would work on for that month and then upload a video or two, much like this one, or whatever medium that I choose to make the artworks in for that month. Yeah. What we might find out this month is that Span isn't very good at watercolour pencils, and she should stick to watercolour painting, it could just come out as one big brown blurry mess. But it seems to be doing alright. So I'm just gonna take this scratchy hairy brush again, now that I've smoothed everything out, and just take to that. Ooh, way too dark. I'll get some of that pigment out of there. Oh, we are working in the shadows, but I put too much water in it and it all blurred, so yes, pick up some greens, blacks. Should have put more colour even, because it's just got the hints of the blues and the greens, but we want overwhelmingly cosmic blues and greens. This is a tricky section because you don't want to pick up too much. Oh, pardon me. It's very easy to pick up too much of the eye colour in the shading, which is obviously black, which makes the shading very dark indeed. And you don't want too much dark in your shadows. I mean, you do because it's shadows, but it'll take away the contrast from within the shadow itself of the different colours, which does lend a rather nice effect, I think. Alright, so now I'm going to try for those yellow. I'm going to do the little dark bits of the outside, and then try for those yellows. Try and pick up some of those yellows. Alright, that didn't work too great, but we do still have some lines here to do, to blur in, into shadow. Okay. It's too wet again, Keep doing that. Right, so I'm just going to get another slightly larger brush. Maybe let's try this one. I'm not sure what effect it's going to have. Pick up a little bit of water, not too much, and we're just going to well, that's done nothing, so more water, and let's just I'm just attacking those flowers in a very unartistic way. Again, here we just want the impression of the thing that the bee is standing on to be there. Be there. Alright, so that's looking pretty good. Just gonna do a little bit of some dry brushing, did nothing. Okay. I'm going to pick up that little blender brush once more and just go back into these little areas that are supposed to be smooth. Just really smooth them out. At this point, we don't want to see any pencils lines, any I was going to say brush strokes, but I'm using brush strokes to get rid of pencil lines. So I'm just going to use that very edge again to get those fine, smooth, edged lines. And it doesn't matter if it's not perfect, as long as it's smooth for this section. Like I can go outside of the line, as long as it stays relatively non-hairy. Right, so just going to smooth out that insides again. Okay, a little bit more in that blue. Alright. Alright, a little bit more in here. Looks like it needs a little blending. That whole area. Now I like this as is at the moment because it is lending itself to looking both like a sketch and a painting. You can see both effects in this artwork. What do you think? Finished? I think it might be finished. Let me just see one thing. What if I get the yellow and we put in a couple more little... Yeah, that's nice. You're supposed to not do this for some reason, like ruins the tip of the water for later, but I just want to make this be really buzz yellow. Yeah. Too much yellow at the feet. So what I'm going to do is take this brushy one and just get some of that shadowy colour. Too much. And just spread it out a little. Pick up some of the yellow and put down some of the shade. I mean, it looks worse now. I should have left it when I was happy with it. But that's something we all learn through practice. It's when to stop and say you're done, which I'm doing right now. What do you think? What do you think? What do you think? So this is B number 1. We'll clean our brushes, which is thankfully very, very easy. Just a matter of washing the pigment, the small amounts of pigment off the brushes. Okay, just going to dab it a little bit, blow on it a little bit, but I think that this bee is beautiful. I think it's done. Alright. Hope you enjoyed watching that watercolour artwork. Oh, I dropped a splotch. And I will hope that it was relaxing and calming and relaxing, and I will see you in the next video. Alright. Just have to leave that open to dry. It's a bit damp. Oop. The paper held up well though. Alright. Good night, 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 sleep well, good night, sleep well, good night, sleep. Wow.